All right. Long overdue, but we're finally gonna get this thing done and out the way. Like, yes, sir. So if you're watching, stand by shortly. That I'll never see this again. I know, man. I know. We back at it. You know what I mean? It's long overdue. I'll try to be more consistent with it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I miss doing these things, but at the same time, it's like people gotta play their games. You know what I'm saying? I can't do a recap, and it's only like 4 games I could do, 4 or 5 games I could do, and it's like the rest of the schedule is like all force wins. You know what I'm saying? It's like a 15-minute recap, which is cool, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Other than that, for sure. Yeah, we back at it. It's been a minute. It has definitely been a minute. So I'm gonna wait till a couple more people get up in this bitch, and then we can get underway real quick. It's the last recap I did was possibly week 2, I want to say. So, obviously I'm not gonna go through every single week, like individually. Well, I might just do that. I might go over like possibly like 2 highest scoring games for each week, because I did weeks 1 and 2. I think the last week I did was like 3. Then it's like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then that's where we leave off. 8, I'm gonna do in full. Week 8, I'm gonna do in full. 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3. I'm probably gonna do 2 or 3 games out of those just to skim by it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Other than that, all right, we're gonna get shit going. We're gonna get shit underway. Give me a second. All right, 5, 4. Hey. Welcome everybody who's tuning in to the Gll Midseason Recap. Your host with the most and head commissioner, Boogie by J1. Yes, we're back. We are in full effect. I know it's been some weeks, man, but been a little busy, of course. You know what I'm saying? Outside of running the league. But other than that, we here, we back with it. We're gonna get into the games. Who's been dominating in the league? Who's been sticking it up? What rivalries have been made? What big game moments? And we're gonna cover everything, man. We're just the playoff standings. We're at the midseason point, so you know exactly we're gonna get to the playoff race. Without further ado, man, it's great to be back. And thanks for whoever's tuning in so far, man. I honestly appreciate it. Other than that, I'm not gonna hold you guys up any longer. So, what do you think of my Zach Martin and Lewis? We're not gonna do that, okay? Look, I know what you're doing, and I'm not gonna dime you out on the stream. So, no, you do not get my approval with that trade. Sorry, bro. Speaking of that, after the stream, we're gonna look for more people for a trade committee. So if you feel as though you're reasonable, you're fair and rational, if you want to join the trade committee, definitely hit us up. You know what I'm saying? What do you think of Watson for Haskins? Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I was gonna wait. I was gonna wait till Watson's debut for week 8 because you like made somebody rage quit. But now that you brought that up, Watson for Haskins, tremendous trade. I think it was a little suspect that Texans. He's been trying to trade him since last season because for some reason he just doesn't like playing with Watson. But Watson is a beast. I even tried to trade from, and I have fucking Jordan Love. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you got a deal. You absolutely won that deal. Watson over Haskins any day. Um, I would definitely pay that price. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're gonna have to pay Watson, but he's absolutely worth the money. You know what I'm saying? I asked for an invite. Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna do this alone, Mikey. I'm gonna do this one alone for right now because I just want to skim through this. If I do it with somebody, we're gonna get all yippity yappity, and we're gonna have like 2 3 hour long recap. And yeah, I'm like hella behind in weeks. We're starting at week 3, so we got some catching up to do. I think I'm rational. I think you're rational, Logan. So yeah, but I don't know. That DJ Moore trade did not help you. I wasn't helping you, but all right, cool. All right, Mikey, that's what's up. Okay, so without further ado, man, we're just gonna get right into week 3, cover at least 2 or 3 high scoring matchups for each week, and pick it up from week 8 in full. So, looking at this here, we might just go ahead. 45-2. My goodness, what happened? What happened, Armadillos? I guess we're gonna pick it up in here, right? Thursday night football. Huskies at the Diablos. Huskies have been on an absolute tear. El Dinero of the Toronto Huskies taking on YT Itzel of the Mexico City Diablos. And before we start on anything, if you know anybody who's committed, who's active, and most importantly, interested in taking over a franchise, let us know. Hit me or Cardinals up, and we definitely send an invite to those guys because we might need some new people. But without further ado, absolute blowout. If you look at this box score here, it just wasn't fair for the Mexico City Diablos. I mean, pretty close in the first quarter, 7-7. Other than that, 28-21 at halftime. But Mexico City could not hang in the shootout as Toronto just pummeled this team to an absolute pulp, dropping 62 on the road. 9 interceptions with Baker Mayfield. I'm not sure if that's a season high for any team in the league so far, but that is absolutely terrible. Bad game for the Diablos. But 447, 7 touchdowns, 5 INTs, 20 of 30 for Drew Lock. Absolutely snapping. Him and DK Metcalf. If it's not him, it's probably Russell and Calvin Ridley for the most elite duo. Quarterback to wide receiver in the league right now. But I don't think anybody's topping DK and Drew Lock with the numbers that they've been putting up for 2 seasons straight. Nick Chubb, 20 carries, 223, 2 touchdowns, doing all the work for the Diablos. McCaffrey getting to end zone, Baker getting his lone touchdown. But DK Metcalf, this is pretty much the norm for him. Nobody has an answer for this guy. 9 catches, 263, 5 touchdowns. McCaffrey going over 100 yards throughout the air. Everybody quiet on the Diablo side. Sutton and Noah Fant joining DK in the end zone. We get to the defensive side of the ball real fast. Nobody really doing damage in the sack department. 4 picks for Chris Westry. He was the defensive player of the week for the Huskies and for the AFC this week. In week 3, Kadar Holloman with 3 picks himself. Jordan Hicks with 2. Chris Harris, Justin Simmons, Denzel Ward, Cedric Rudwine. That's a really dynamic name. And Ricardo Allen, all with a pick in this one. Any defensive touchdowns? You know we got to get to it. Of course there is. Chris Westry with a defensive touchdown alongside Jordan Hicks. Other than that, completely one-sided game. 62 points Huskies drop on the road. They are a team to be reckoned with, and they're undefeated, and they have game of the week, which we will get to very shortly in week 8. Other than that, I think you see the scores here. Some blowouts, some pretty close games, 23-29. But we go ahead to week 4 real quick. And I should have looked over these games before I hopped into this, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to do this off the fly. You know what I'm saying? Wow, 63 points. Miami just could not hang with the Chiefs. That was horrible. I think I'm going to pick a game that's pretty close. I don't like to cover blowouts. You know what I'm saying? Who likes to recap a blowout? You know what I'm saying? It's not a draw. 49-6. Mikey absolutely laying it on Fiesta OJ of the Detroit Lions. What's good, Brody? What's good, Husky? We're just talking about you, bro. If you want to see what I said about you, just rewind a couple minutes or just a minute or so. You absolutely laid a whipping week 3 on Diablos, like 62-21. So good job to you, man. You've been killing it so far this year. Other than that, let's go to a pretty close game. We're going to go here. We are going to go here. Panthers on the road taking on New Orleans Saints. Saints, who have been on an absolute tear this season. Pretty close game with the Panthers, considering how much of a depleted roster they have in comparison to the New Orleans Saints. Saints have been unstoppable, winning the NFC Player of the Week every single week with John Taylor, rookie phenom and MVP frontrunner, but he's out for 6 weeks, so that would definitely hurt his MVP case. Other than that, let's get into the box score real fast. 7-0 in the first quarter, Carolina taking over, but heading in the second quarter, Saints fighting back a little bit, tying it up. Neither team scores in the third quarter, heading to the fourth quarter. New Orleans Saints get into the end zone. That ultimately made the difference at home in a division rivalry game in the NFC South. Cam Newton looking like his vintage self. 201, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 16 for 22. Played really well. 72% of his passes completed. Obviously outplaying the Drew Brees Hall of Famer here. 147, 2 touchdowns, 3 INTs, 12 of 16. Very sharp despite the turnovers for Breezy. But once again, Jonathan Taylor, Offensive Player of the Week for the NFC this week in Week 4. 27 carries, a buck 40 and a touchdown. Zeke Elliott of the Carolina Panthers obviously didn't do anything. Very suspect. T.Y. Hilton, though, 2 catches, a buck 107 and a touchdown. Josh Hill, 553 and a touchdown, leading the Saints. Surprisingly, Julio Jones finds his way into the end zone alongside with Zeke Elliott. Defensively, because obviously if you see here, bunch of turnovers. This was a defensive warfare. Lone sack of the game going to Cameron Jordan of the New Orleans Saints. Eric Reed, Kendall Fuller, Shaq Thompson, and A.J. Aboye. You think with all the turnovers that the Panthers were able to create in this one, they escaped with a W, but somehow, someway, John Taylor, not Drew Brees, but John Taylor leads the way to a victory for this New Orleans Saints team. That's pretty much it here for Week 4. We're going to just chug along quickly to Week 5 real fast. Let's pick ourselves a close game. As you see here, a couple forced games up here at the top. 30. Wow, this was a slugfest. Somehow the Lions laying 34 points on the Saints, but Saints obviously nearly doubling that, 56 points. High scoring game for them. We might just cover this game right here. Very close game between the Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers, 26-28 on the road in sunny San Francisco. No. Yeah, that was a close game, but we're going to cover the game of the week, which was Monday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs, your boy Jay Wills, 28, on the road, taking on another your boy, JoJo, 27, of the Baltimore Ravens. And this was a offensive slugfest. As you see here, first quarter, 7-3, Kansas City takes a 4-point lead heading into the second quarter. Heading into halftime, 24-13, Kansas City up. They're up, and that's pretty much how it will remain the rest of the way. Both teams trading equal blows in the second half, dropping 28 points, both in the second half, but it just wasn't enough. The first half of the Ravens game definitely cost them late in this one, 52-41 final score in Baltimore. Sorry for exiting out there. We're going to get to the box score stats real quick before we go to next week. 4 touchdowns, 1 INT, 305, a near quarterback rating of perfect for the former MVP himself, Patrick Mahomes, 12 of 15. But Lamar Jackson struggling quite a bit, which definitely played a problem into this loss. 231, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, 16 of 29. He just couldn't really do much. But on the ground, I take my words back very fast. 14 carries, 218, 4 touchdowns for Lamar Jackson. For how lackluster he was in the air, made it up obviously on the ground. 5 touchdowns in total for the real life MVP in Lamar Jackson. J.K. Dobbins, 17 carries, a buck 15, 2 touchdowns for the rookie out of Ohio State. Patrick Mahomes, really good game, 4 touchdowns for him, but INT and a fumble, so 2 turnovers for the former MVP. Jamal Williams got 10 touches on the ground, could not really get anything going for the former Green Bay Packer. Tyreek Hill, 5 catches, a buck 38, 2 touchdowns. You know he was going to do some damage as the main weapon for Patrick Mahomes, alongside Travis Kelce, arguably the best tight end in the league outside of George Kittle. 4 catches, a buck 10, and a touchdown for Travis Kelce. As for the Baltimore Ravens, only guy who got into the end zone was Jamal Williams. Surprisingly, did really bad on the ground, but through the air he made up for it getting to the end zone. 5 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. Mecole Hardman joining them in the end zone as well. Defensively, you seen how high the score was. Do you expect any defensive stats? Absolutely not. A couple sacks for a couple guys. Jake Ryan, Matthew Judon, Joey Bosa, and half a sack for Chris Jones. Juan Thornhill and Earl Thomas with the only INTs in this one. Other than that, Kansas City comes away with a big statement win over the Baltimore Ravens. And that's definitely a rivalry I would like to see. Two high-powered offensive teams, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. I would definitely like to see this matchup come playoff time. Heading into week 6 real quickly, we're just going to pick another matchup here, just out the hat. Couple force wins here. Let's get a close game in here. Wow. I don't want to brag, but I'll humble brag. 59-20 over the Lions. Absolutely craziness. Now I'm not going to cover my game. I don't want to make it seem some sort of way. So I'll cover the closest game of the week that was actually played. Bengals. Thursday Night Football, first game of the week. Henry Jr., Cincinnati Bengals taking on your boy Jalou, 12 of the Houston Texans, 21-14 final score here. All their points coming in the fourth quarter. Can you imagine that? A game 0-0 heading into the fourth quarter. Both of these teams pulled out all the stops, but Cincy did just enough. Okay, some of these stats might be skewed a little bit because Dwayne Haskins was on the Armadillos at this point in time. So Deshaun Watson should be here in all actuality. But we're just going to concentrate on the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback stats. 231, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 9 of 18. Only 9 completions, able to put up 21 points for Andy Dalton, the veteran out of TCU. Joe Mixon, 14 carries, 97 yards, any touchdown, nearly 100-yard game for the 3-year pro out of Oklahoma. Mark Ingram could not get anything going. The former Heisman Trophy winner himself. Duke Johnson did a little damage on the ground, but not enough touches for him. Will Fuller, over 100 yards in this one. 4 catches and a touchdown. Tyler Boyd, 4 catches, 79, and a touchdown as well. All John Ross needed was 1 reception to take it to the house for 66 yards. D-Hop. He made the most of his 1 reception, but that's all he got in this one. They definitely needed to involve him more. Possibly the best receiver in the league. Other than that, A.J. Green, of course, getting into the end zone. Taking on his former team in a revenge game. 2 sacks for Whitney Merciless, alongside with Jordan Evans. Derek Brown, the first-round pick out of Auburn. A sack and a half for Geno Atkins. Jermaine Pratt, Derek Wolfe. Tim Jernigan, and half a sack for Carl Lawson. 2 picks for Drake Kirkpatrick, pick for Gary Conley, B.W. Webb, and Justin Reed. Other than that, pretty close game here, but Cincy surprisingly pulling out the win over a very roster-wise really good Texans team. Heading into week 7, we're almost to week 8, guys. We're almost there. Thank you once again for tuning in. Comment on the side, man. I want to interact with you guys. Give me your opinions on what these matchups. Talk your shit in the chat. You know what I'm saying? If you guys are there, do what you do. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, week 7. Sheesh. There was a couple games there. A couple good games there. Couple close ones here. Bears at Lions. You need to force one. Yes. I got you. I already saw that in the Discord. Yeah, there's a couple close games here. Houston Voyagers at Huskies. I was told not to review this game, but for the sake of it, that's exactly what I will do. I will review it. So we'll get to that very shortly here. Absolute blowout over the San Francisco 49ers. This was game of the week here. Let me tell you something straight. It's 28-28. It was a tie. I low-key fucked this one up. But this was game of the week here. Final score was actually 49-34. Snowhawks. But on my part, I should have a W in the department. But we're not going to get into that. Very fun game. I would love to see Kansas City in the playoffs. Very good game. We're going to cover that game as well. Other than that, we're getting to Snow Machine 12 of the Houston Voyagers, a.k.a. the Buffalo Bills, taking on El Dinero of the Toronto Huskies, who has been on an absolute tear this season with DK Metcalf and Drew Lock. We'll jump straight into the stats and show you why. We talking shit. Alright, Logan blew a 14-point lead. Yes, this is true. He had a 14-point lead in this game. A little foreshadowing. Yeah. Yo, this game is shit. Yeah, he had a 14-point lead, absolutely blew it. So sorry, bro. We're about to get into that. Drew Lock. Whew. Before we get into that, into box score, obviously 14-0. That's obviously the 14-point lead he had until Toronto scored and absolutely turned this game right around, scoring 14 in the second quarter. Indicating here he got a safety in the second. How rare is that to see a safety? 21-19 score at halftime. Final score in this one, 26-34. Is either team wasn't able to score in the third quarter. All scoring was done in the fourth quarter here. We'll get to the stats quickly. Both quarterbacks struggling in this one. 270, 3 touchdowns, of course, but 5 INTs apiece for each. Josh Allen and Drew Lock, 18-26. Both sacked a couple of times, 5 and 6 respectively. Josh Allen, 294, 2 touchdowns, 5 INTs for the second-year pro out of Wyoming. What happened with Josh Allen? Who knows? But obviously both guys were able to struggle. Yeah, shaking my head to INTs. I know. It happens. This very good defensive game. What can I say? Was not my nigga Lock's first sign this hour. Yeah. I mean, you just won Player of the Week, so he definitely bounced back. You know what I'm saying? Armadillo's 3-game win streak. Ooh, we'll get into that. When we get into the standings, we'll definitely get into every win streak. Who's been on the longest losing streak. Trust me, we're going to get to everything. We're also going to get into mid-season stats. Who leads the league in what? In every department. Sacks, passing touchdown, passing yardage, rushing, receiving, etc. Chris McCaffrey, though. 11 touches, 50 yards. Pretty okay average, but didn't really do anything on the ground. Philip Lindsay in a revenge game of sorts, facing his former team, the Denver Broncos, a.k.a. the Huskies. 12 carries, 48 yards, any touchdown, able to get into the end zone, trying to prove a point to his former team. But along with the 5 INTs, Drew Lock also lost a fumble in this one. So that's 6 turnovers for him. Not the finest hour, as said by El Dinero. DJ Moore, 4 catches, but 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely went bananas. DK, tried to go tit for tat with him. 3 catches, $116, 2 touchdowns as well for him. Absolutely bananas. 6 catches, 79 yards. Of course, CMC is going to do that damage through the air as well as on the ground. Other than that, Cortland Sutton gets to the end zone, and it's a bit quiet from everybody else on the receiving end. So we go to the defensive side of the ball real fast. 3 sacks for Javon Kinlaw, the first-round defensive tackle out of South Carolina. 2 sacks for Jadeveon Clowney, and a sack apiece for everybody else. You can see here Jabal Sheard, Duke Dawson, Jordan Phillips, Trent Murphy, Jeremy Atacho, and Matt Milano. As we get to the pick department here, 3 picks for Justin Simmons. Tremaine Edmonds, Bryce Callahan, Howard Wilson, Marcus Williams, and Jordan Poyer. Any defensive touchdowns here we need to know about? Of course, 5'9", Bryce Callahan takes it to the crib, which was the difference in this one. Both kickers fairly accurate in this one, but Huskies, they win a shootout. Congratulations to them. As we get this week 8, finally, I was talking so much. We finally get to week 8, and yeah, we're finally at the midway point for season 2, man. Very proud, very happy we made it this far. Other than that, we're just gonna take it from the top here, which is the bottom. Thursday night football. Titans, new owner Boykins 334. The Tennessee Titans taking on Boogie by J1. That would be me of the Portland Snowhawks, and this was a fairly pretty good game. So, De Niro, we not running tonight because if you not, you got my little bro tomorrow. But we're going to play it tomorrow. All right, cool. Y'all go have your conversation. First quarter here, as you see, it was fairly close. It was 14-7. As we get into the second half, I had to double down on them. You know what I mean? 28-14. Then other than that, it's quiet in the fourth quarter. But the final score was all but done in the third quarter. 35-21 home victory for the Portland Snowhawks. A very much needed victory. Jordan Love, 278, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Arguably the best game of the season for the rookie first-round pick out of Utah State, 13 of 17. Bengals quit. Yeah, facts. Bengals did quit, which was disappointing because I've heard very good things about him. He's a very good user. But, to be fair, he wasn't here for the offseason, so everybody pretty much has an advantage over him. He wasn't really able to do anything with the roster. He didn't draft. He didn't sign any free agents. But at the end of the day, you don't quit a game. You know what I'm saying? If you get that ass whipping, you take that ass whipping. So he got his first warning. But Joe Burrow, the first round pick out of LSU, 281, 4 INTs, obviously struggled mightily against the Snowhawks defense, 19 of 33. Marlon Mack, former Indianapolis Colt / Snowhawk, 16 carries, 96 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 touchdown games on the Snowhawks' head, proving a point. But Nyheim Hines nearly matches them in yardage with 10 less touches on the ground. 6 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown for him as well. Other than that, everybody else was a bit quiet on the ground. Receiving department, 7 catches leading the way for both teams. A $122, wasn't able to find the end zone, but Jonnu Smith having a really good game. Emmanuel Sanders, 2 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown. Eric Ebron, 4 for 82 and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 5 for 72. Nyheim Hines getting into the end zone as well. Other than that, defensive side of the ball real fast so we could transition. Jarrell Casey, Vic Beasley, Anthony Zettel with the only sacks in this one. Malcolm Jenkins, 2 picks as well. Bobby Okeke, Anthony Harris, and Adoree Jackson. Any defensive touchdowns from what I remember, of course, is Bobby Okeke, who this week against the Monarchs actually has an X-Factor game. He has a breakout game, which I will be posting in the Discord shortly after this recap ends. But yeah. Other than that, big victory for the Snowhawks, much needed one, as now they're tied for first place in the AFC South. Other than that, take it from the top of the week. Force win. We don't cover force wins. We don't cover CPU games. So just shortly, Perk, 31-21 victory over the Rams. Congratulations to Perk. Second game of the week. This is the game that Brady Kilgallen, I'm assuming that's how you say your name, is referring to. 35-10 whipping on Henry Jr. of the Cincinnati Bengals. And we'll get to the stats real quick. Obviously, they're skewed a little bit. There's a touchdown missing here. It says 28-10, but really 35-10 was the final score in this one. Deshaun Watson in his first game, a $149, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 8 for 11, just dropping dimes, just with regularity, just dropping dimes all over the place. Deshaun Watson, his debut game, made somebody rage quit. Watch out for the Armadillos. Andy Dalton struggled mightily. 92 yards, just 92 yards passing. 2 INTs, 6 of 12, barely 50% passing. The pressure was just there. Wendell Smallwood is the story of the game, though. I don't even know his overall, but it's Wendell Smallwood. 13 carries, a $183, 3 touchdowns. Congratulations to Armadillo for achieving such a feat when Wendell Smallwood, of all people. Joe Mixon held to nothing in this one. 11 touches, 20 yards. Couldn't muster anything. Sammy Watkins coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs. 3 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown for him. John Ross, 2 for 51, leading the way for the Bengals. Jordan Reed getting into the end zone as well. Other than that, pretty quiet. Defensively, though, a sack from Montez Sweat, Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, and Jamie Collins. Quentin Dunbar, Cole Holcomb, and Jordan Evans with the only picks in this one. Any defensive touchdowns? Of course there is. Sutton Smith with the lone touchdown for the Cincinnati Bengals in this one. Other than that, this was a rage quit game. I won't reiterate it again, but congratulations to Brady as he finds his footing with a expansion Armadillos team. So congratulations to him. Lone 1 or 2 in this one. Randy Bullock missing a field goal. Other than that, yeah, wasn't pretty. Another forced win game here. Fiesta OJ of the Detroit Lions beats the Jacksonville Jaguars. Snow Machine 12, the Houston Voyagers, much needed victory, gets it over a CPU Patriots team. As we transition here, Kansas City Chiefs, after a disappointing loss to the Snowhawks the week before, tie, should I say, tries to make a statement win over Big B Staz 86, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, now of the Brooklyn Beats / Oakland Raiders. So that's interesting to see. Laid an absolute whooping on the Beats. As you see here, 14-2 in the first quarter, 28-2 at halftime. 28-2. Other than that, final score 42-16. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one. 146, 3 touchdown, and a pick. It's 7-11 for Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely was A1 in this one. Yes, I do know you're tanking, Braden, so I'm not going to throw dirt on you. That's why I'm going to try and get through this game as fast as possible. I know you're tanking. I got you, bro. 167, 2 touchdowns, 2 for 2, 11-18. This one did pretty good with Derek Carr, but J.K. Dobbins, what happened? 253, 3 touchdowns, just going bananas. Wow, those are crazy numbers. For the Beats, couldn't get anything going. 6-24 with Josh Jacobs. Kylan Hill, the halfback, out of Mississippi State, 4 catches, $111, 2 touchdowns, leading both teams, surprisingly. Tyreek Hill, 3 for 60 and a touchdown. Van Jefferson, the rookie out of Florida, 2 for 52 and a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins, his lone catch, going to the crib. Other than that, J.K. Dobbins, player of the week. Very dominant performance in this one. 3.5 sacks for Obi Melifonwu, leading the way for both teams. Sack for Jonathan Hankins, half a sack for Bennett Copeland. No sacks for the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. Carl Joseph, John Johnson, and Juan Thornhill, all with picks as well. Any defensive touchdowns, any safeties? Yes, I see one. Obi Melifonwu, absolutely on one, getting all the sacks and a safety in this one as well. Other than that, absolute whooping that the Kansas City Chiefs, as they get a much-needed victory, as they bounce back against the Brooklyn Beats. Your boy Juju 24, the New Orleans Saints, who has been absolutely A1 in the NFC playoff picture, takes on Hanu King of the London Monarchs / Green Bay Packers. And this blowout, as you see here, 31-14. Final score here is it was pretty close at halftime, 14-10. As the Monarchs were actually up at one point in this game, surprisingly, but the Saints, they found an answer and solution as where the Monarchs lost theirs. Not a lot of passing going on in this game at all. 41 yards, 2 INTs, 7-16. Could not get anything going for the Monarchs through the air. 107, 6-10. Drew Brees struggling as well. Both quarterbacks, 4 turnovers apiece. Latavius Murray, though, NFC Player of the Week in this one, 11 carries, $180, 3 touchdowns. As for John Taylor, 20 carries, 76 yards, 2 fumbles, but he ended up getting hurt in this game. So that made way for Latavius Murray, who picked up the production and obviously did not disappoint. Raheem Mostert, 8 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Ran the ball really well in this one. Julio Jones, 2 for 78. Led the way for both teams. That's all that's said for the receiving department. As we switch to the defensive side of the ball, 2 sacks for Marcus Davenport, sack for DeForest Buckner. INT-wise, Adrian Amos, AJ Boye, Micah Hyde, and Zadarius Smith, all with a pick apiece. And the lone defensive touchdown in the game goes to Jair Alexander, one of the better young lockdown cover corners in this league. Young Ho Koo missing the lone field goal for the Monarchs. Other than that, much needed victory for the Saints as they remain undefeated this year. As Monarchs still trying to fight their way up the NFC playoff picture. As we go here to Chicago, General Mills 51 of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on Truly Bryant of the Chicago Bears. And Bears coming through in this one, trying to make a statement. Pretty close at halftime here. 14-7, Chicago has the lead, and they will remain with the lead for the remainder of this game, doubling on their first points in the first half. 28-10 final score here in Soldier Field. Mitchell Trubisky, 288, 2 touchdowns. He's 2 for 2, pretty even Steven, 21-31. As for Aaron Rodgers of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just cannot get anything going as Father Time caught up with them in this one. $114 passing, 2 INTs, 7-13. Could not get anything going. Get to stats and standings already. Uh, yeah, we're gonna get there, bro. I got you. I got you, my guy. Yeah, I mean it just takes time. 18 carries, a buck 54, and a touchdown. As for Ronald Jones having a huge game for the Buccaneers. Other than that, there was the only bright spot for this team. David Montgomery, 3 carries, 17 yards, and a touchdown. Allen Robinson, 9 for a buck 43 and a touchdown. Anthony Miller going over 100 yards with him as well. And Albert O heading to the end zone as well. Other than that, nobody, not O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, or Mike Evans making much of an impact with Aaron Rodgers in this one. 2 sacks for Leonard Floyd leading the way. Pick a piece for Devin White, Eddie Jackson, Prince Amukamara, and Mike Edwards. Much needed victory for the Chicago Bears as they barely missed out on the playoffs last year, trying to fight their way this year. And as we go here, your boy Gll, 12 of the Houston Texans, continuing his struggles as he faces the hottest team in the league right now, arguably, other than the Saints. But for the AFC, this is the hottest team right now. El Dinero of the Toronto Huskies. 56-7 whooping at home. As you see here, 7-28, 7-14. Looks like someone's social security number. It just looks nasty. Drew Lock, Offensive Player of the Week for the AFC, 535, 7 touchdowns and just 1 interception, but 30 of 35, absolutely accurate through all 4 quarters of play. Dwayne Haskins in his first game in that big trade with Deshaun Watson and the Armadillos, 79 yards in 4 quarters. That is, wow, what just happened? 4 INTs, 11 to 21. You cannot make this stuff up, folks. 14 carries, a buck 104 from Mark Ingram, the only lone bright spot for the Texans. CMC took a back seat to Drew Lock in this one. DK Metcalf, of course, who do you expect to produce when you see those numbers from Drew Lock? 7 catches, 270, 4 touchdowns for DK Metcalf as he continues a killing spree, and the long touchdown of 88 yards in this one. Devin Funchess, 563. McCaffrey, of course, he doesn't do anything on the ground. Expect him to do some damage throughout the air. 5 for 56 and a touchdown as well. J.J. Nelson, Marvin Jones joining them as well in the aerial attack. Sack department, Duke Dawson, Justin Houston, Whitley Merciless, Timmy Jernigan, and half a sack for Cunningham and J.J. Watt. INT department, Chris Harris, Duke Dawson, Chris Westry, and Bradley Roby. Other than that, I mean, geez, Huskies, slow down a little bit. Let some teams catch up to you, my guy, because what you're doing to these teams is just not fair. And we have a plethora of Force 1 games, so we only have 1 game to cover. Matter of fact, I lied. That was the last game of the week to cover, as my game I covered first, obviously. Atlanta comes away with a Force win. Diablos come away with a Force win. Ravens, and as well as the San Francisco 49ers. Other than that, yeah, Huddy Mikey made the Orbits guy quit and rage quit at the league, so no pity for that guy. That guy is a pussy. Other than that, we're going to get to the stats real quick. But before we get to the midseason stats, we're going to get to the midseason standings by division, of course. We're going to look at the league last, but AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens atop, 6-2. Just 2 games behind are the Cincinnati Bengals. Diablos 3-4, and Steelers far out of reach for the AFC North crown at 1-7 in the basement. A rebuilding year of sorts for the Pittsburgh Steelers, surprisingly. 3-game win streak as well for the Baltimore Ravens. Tennessee Titans 5-2. Snowhawks, despite the win over the Titans, the tie is exactly what's holding them back, but they do have the tiebreaker over the Titans right now in the season series 1-0. So be careful for that. And as far as win streaks go, there's only 1 win streak, and that's Snowhawks. That was beating the Titans. They really should be on the 2-game win streak, but that was really snapped with a tie over their Kansas City Chiefs. Other than that, Texans 4-4, and Jaguars in the basement once again at 1-6 on a 4-game losing streak. AFC East, the Voyagers atop as always, 6-2. They started last year very strong. They were top of the AFC standings, but come playoff time, towards the end of the race, they kind of like slowed down a little bit and gave up their home field advantage. Will that happen again this year? It will be interesting to see. But they're on the 1 game win streak, so they need to keep that momentum going heading into November and December. New England Patriots 3-4, Jets 2-5, Dolphins surprisingly 1-6. They made the playoffs last year. This year they're nowhere to be found. Other than that, I mean, Voyagers looking at a very comfortable 3-game lead in the AFC East. AFC West, of course, the Huskies 8-0, a perfect 8-0. They're on an 8-game win streak. They're 5-0 at home, 3-0 on the road. Does anybody have an answer for the Huskies? That remains to be seen. But halfway through the season, they are perfect. They have 8 more games to go. Chiefs 4-2-1. They're right behind them. This is a brewing in-division rivalry right here of sorts. Huskies Chiefs would be very interesting to see this team as well in the playoffs. Last year, Huskies took the victory over the Chiefs, and they pretty much have the upper hand over the Chiefs so far, so it would be interesting to see the Chiefs fight back. But other than that, the beats and orbits just far out of reach with these 2 other teams far up top these standings. Other than that, we transition to the NFC North. 6-2, the Chicago Bears stand up top. They're trying to make a statement, trying to make the playoffs this year. It looks like their division to lose. The Minnesota Vikings 3-4, Monarchs 2-5, and the Detroit Lions still rebuilding into year 2 at the bottom with 1-7. Bears currently on a 5-game win streak, one of the hotter teams in the NFC overall, but arguably the best rivalry in GLL history right now. The Saints and Falcons. At this point last year, both of these teams were undefeated. Who got the upper hand? It was the Atlanta Falcons. But come playoff time, Falcons, they had a huge lead. They had a huge lead in the NFC Championship game. The Saints, of course, made a huge comeback to go into the Super Bowl and eventually become Season 1 champs of the GLL Season 1. Will that happen again? Will the Falcons eventually avenge their playoff loss over the New Orleans Saints? It would be very interesting to see. These teams, through midway through the season, still have 2 matchups against each other. So we'll see who get the upper hand here. But both these teams 8-0 so far at the midway mark. 2-5 for the Panthers, 1-6 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Heading into the NFC East, very close division, very, very close. They're 2 or 3 games apart for each and every team. Aftershocks, aka the Dallas Cowboys, 5-2. They are currently on a 4-game win streak, pretty hot right now. The Philadelphia Eagles 4-4. Just coming off a loss, looking to bounce back and try and get back into the wild card spot. Armadillos and the Giants 3-4. So Armadillos now acquiring a Deshaun Watson, maybe trying to gain some momentum. They are on a 3-game win streak, so this is definitely a team to look forward after. Now that they have someone new under center, someone new and improved, one of the better young quarterbacks in this league in Deshaun Watson. This is definitely a team, a dark horse team in the NFC to keep an eye out for. Other than that, as we transition here to the last spot, last division, NFC West. This, I take my words back, it's not the NFC East. It is the NFC West, is the closest division in the GLL right now. 4-3. We have 3 teams tied atop the NFC West. That'll be Chicago Blues, aka the Seattle Seahawks, the LA Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, and in last place, fighting itself into playoff contention, the London Black Knights, aka the Arizona Cardinals. He gets forced win this week, so he'll be 4-4. It is up to everybody in this division to get a win to stay up top, or where they all tie simultaneously heading into week 9. It will be very interesting to see. NFC East most deepest division. I wouldn't say it's the deepest, but they have the closest race. I think the deepest division. Not sure. We go here real quick. It's not the AFC North. The AFC South, I wouldn't say the South either, even though it's a pretty close race going on here. But it's not the East. It is not the AFC. It could be the AFC West. It's just these 2 teams. The AFC West. I got somebody for the AFC West. That's very much true. The Beast owner that we did have previously, he was pretty good, but he rage quit on his team for some reason. But it's yeah, Chiefs and Huskies definitely two teams to look out for. NFC North, not so much. The Bears are running away with that division, but the Saints and Falcons, you could argue they have the toughest division because the Panthers hung in there with the Saints and Buccaneers. They're rebuilding, but they have some pieces. So it might be NFC South just because they have the two only NFC undefeated teams right now, so they are going to be advocates. But NFC East, possibly the deepest division. NFC East or NFC West, just in overall teams in playoff contention, I would say is dumb. But as we go here to each conference real quick, to the AFC, the Huskies 8-0, a perfect 8-0 right now. They stand atop here. And what you see here for the AFC and the NFC, I will post shortly after into the Discord so everybody can see and view and talk your shit, talk your opinions. You know what I'm saying? Huskies, of course, 8-0, perfect 8-0. Who has an answer for them? We'll soon find out. 6-2 for the Voyagers in second place. Third place, Baltimore Ravens at 6-2 as well. Titans 5-2 right now. Kansas City Chiefs 4-2, and the Snowhawks 4-2 as they both have the last wildcard spots right now. Other than that, a couple honorable mention teams just on the bubble right now. 4-4 Cincinnati Bengals and 4-4 Houston Texans. Other than that, a bunch of these teams are just desperately fighting their way in there. As we transition to the NFC real fast, the New Orleans Saints 8-0, Falcons 8-0. Both standing atop, but somehow the Saints have the upper hand right now. If we go to points scored, I mean, it probably would edges them out. But like I said, both these teams, they're division teams, they have to face each other twice a season. So a tiebreaker is soon to be done, sooner or later. Aftershocks 5-2 in third place. Bears 6-2 in fourth place. As for the wild card spot, we have several teams in the wild card spot. 4-3, 4-3, 4-3. Niners, Rams, and Blues. What do they all have in common? Like I was just saying, it is all about the NFC West for the final wild card spot. There's definitely a division to keep an eye out for. Eagles looking for that last spot as well, 4-4. A couple teams on the outside looking in. The Armadillos with Deshaun Watson. Minnesota Vikings, Black Knights, who are now 4-4 with a forced win this week, and the New York Giants. That's it for the playoff picture here. If you want to stick around, we're going to get into the midseason stats. If you're interested, we're just going to look into it real fast. Hot take, Armadillos go 12-4. I mean, you're on a 3-game win streak. If you think you could keep that momentum going, kudos to you. There's a lot of, you know what I mean? Confidence is an easy thing to have, but it's a lot harder to back up what you say, you know what I'm saying? If you put a target on your back, expect somebody to shoot that down, you know what I'm saying? Or at least try to. To go here to the passing stats. Drew Lock leads the league with nearly 3,000 yards passing at the halfway mark here. 2,918 yards, 38 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. Other than that, Josh Allen, second in the NFL in passing yardage. Russell Wilson, third. Jimmy G, fourth. Mitchell Trubisky, surprisingly, Trubisky is in fifth place. Going even Steven right now, 17 for 17. Leading the league in passing touchdowns, who, of course, Drew Lock, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Josh Allen, and Jimmy G. Bunch of other people, honorable mention, Mr. Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes. As we go to the pick department, who leads the league in interceptions? It'll be the guy talking. 24 INTs for Jordan Love right now. Had his early season struggles, but looks to be turning things around, coming off a very good, impressive win over the Tennessee Titans. And second place will be struggling Tua Tagovailoa, 22 INTs. Kirk Cousins, Drew Lock, and fifth place, the previously traded Dwayne Haskins with 18 INTs. As we go here to rushing, who leads the way with nearly 1,500 yards rushing at the midway mark? Jonathan Taylor, the rookie phenom, And it's unfortunate that he's hurt for 6 weeks because obviously he's the front runner alongside Drew Lock and DK Metcalf for MVP right now. 1,493 yards rushing. J.K. Dobbins joins him as the only other rusher over 1,000 yards at the midway mark. Zach Moss nearly gets there surprisingly for the Detroit Lions. Mark Ingram surprisingly as well in 4th place. Joe Mixon in 5th. As we get to the touchdown department, 15 touchdowns for Taylor, Dobbins in 2nd, Lamar Jackson in 3rd place, 4th for Joe Mixon, and tied for 5th is Zach Moss and DeAndre Swift, both rookies. Fumbles, who leads the league in fumbles? We're going to do the good, the bad. And all this talk about Deshaun Watson, he leads the league in fumbles. But it's not so much an indictment on the Armadillos. He did do most of his damage with the Houston Texans, to be fair. Gurley, Prescott, Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, all with 3, and a bunch of people with 2 as well. Who leads the league in broken tackles? Who's the most hardest running back in the league so far? Might be Josh Jacobs and James Conner with 23 broken tackles at the midway mark this season. Nick Chubb with 19. Philip Lindsay, surprisingly, in 4th place. And 15 in 5th place for Le'Veon Bell. And just to see here, the longest run of the year goes to Jerick McKinnon, 98 yards. Wow, that is amazing. Yards after catch, Joe Mixon leads the way with 224 by a fair margin. But as we go here to the receiving stats, 47 catches, 1,509 yards receiving. That is ridiculous. Along with 24 touchdowns, he's well on his way to shatter Calvin Ridley's receiving records in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns last season. That would be interesting to see. DJ Moore, 45 catches, 918, 10 touchdowns. But this is just the receiving stats, right? Or am I mistaken? No, this is by yardage. This is yardage leaders. I couldn't play this season. Niggas ducked me. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not really your fault, you know what I'm saying? Because the autopilot games, people just running up that shit, you know what I'm saying? So I had to strip it away, you know what I'm saying? Because they would inflate the stats, and nah, I can't be doing that. In terms of receiving yardage, DJ Moore 2nd, Allen Robinson in 3rd, Michael Thomas 4th, and in 5th place, Calvin Ridley with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor about to go 1,000 and 1,000, but he's out for 6 weeks. So he only has 2 games left to get over 100 yards. Well, 1,000 yards receiving. We'll see if the rookie could do it in his 2 games of return to week 15. Other than that, receiving touchdowns, DK Metcalf by a wide margin. DJ Moore 2nd place, 3rd place Calvin Ridley, 4th for Jonathan Taylor, and Allen Robinson in 5th place. The longest reception of the year, 98 yards to Mecole Hardman of the Kansas City Chiefs. Other than that, the most yak yardage, Jonathan Taylor, of course, DK, Marquise Brown, Tyrell Williams, and Stephon Diggs. As we go over here to the defensive side of the ball, who leads the league in tackles? Pretty low stats here, but if we're talking solo tackles, Casey Hayward, surprisingly, of the Orbits. Desmond King, his teammate, 41. Jermaine Pratt, Denzel Perryman, Orbits just racking up tackles ridiculously. Well, in terms of total tackles, Deion Jones leads the way, coming off a NFC Defensive Player of the Week award for the Atlanta Falcons. Drew Tranquill in 2nd place. Desmond King, Jermaine Pratt, and Casey Hayward, Orbits, just doing some damage on the defensive side of the ball, but it's not equaling to the win department. Sack totals, Leonard Floyd, 14 sacks, leading the way at the midway point. Fletcher Cox with 12.5 here. Cameron Jordan with 12. DeMarcus Lawrence. And then tied for 5th place, Derek Barnett and J.J. Watt. A bunch of other people, 9.5 for Samson Ebukam and Khalil Mack as well. Other than that, as we go here to the INT department, 9 INTs for Avonte Maddox, 2nd year corner out of Pittsburgh, surprisingly. 8 picks for Chris Harris, 8 for Chris Westry, his teammate safety. 7 picks for Devin McCourty, and a bunch of people's tied for 5th place with 6. That would be Roquan Smith, Darnell Savage, Rodney McLeod, and Eddie Jackson. Other than that, who leads the league in deflections? We're going to give some corners and some safeties some love here. 9 deflections leading the way. A.J. Boye, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Saints, playing some very good defense in the secondary. And Bradley Roby, Darius Slay with 8, alongside Dory Jackson, Richard Sherman, Xavier Howard, and Kevin Byard. Catches allowed, that's a little bit skewed, but leading the way here, just as good as they're doing tackling, they're letting up the most receptions. These 3 apart orbits, they're a little bit troubling here. They have 4 of the top leaders in catches allowed, so definitely something they have to fix. Leading the way in forced fumbles, Akeem Hicks with 3, Kenny Clark, and a bunch of people with 2. Not going to rattle the names off. Fumble recoveries, Aaron Lynch leads the way with 2. Any safeties, a bunch of people with safeties. Defensive touchdowns, Marcus Peters, Bobby Okeke, and Bradley Roby leads the way with 2 apiece for everybody. As we go here, the field goals, perfect 15 for 15 for Jake Elliott, Dan Bailey, Young Ho Koo, Justin Tucker, and Josh Lambo. Yeah, but before we get out of here, this is an owners league, so I like to cover every aspect of the owner side of things, and we're gonna cover the highest selling jerseys. Who do you think is gonna sell this highest amount of jerseys this week? I mean, we're gonna get down to it real quickly. Player marketing real fast. Not to my team, but the NFL top 10. Russell Wilson, surprisingly of all people, sold the most jerseys this week. Calvin Ridley, his counterpart, in 2nd place. Chris Harris in 3rd. Deion Jones, Falcons and Huskies absolutely rule the top 5 right now. Along with Leonard Fournette, Falcons and Huskies. This is crazy. They're just selling jerseys at a retarded pace. Like Drew Lock, Leonard Fournette, DK Metcalf, Saquon Barkley, Emmanuel Sanders, and Alshon Jeffrey. Surprisingly, the Snowhawks getting into 9 and 10th place. Other than that, man, this your boy, this your host with the most, Boogie by Jay, signing out. Thank you for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna try and keep up the pace with this as much as I can. Just give me a reason to keep doing these. You know what I'm saying? If it's a lot of forced wins, it's going to be really short recaps. So that makes me not want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has to play their games. Everybody has to be active. If you know any active people who are willing and interested to join the league, feel free to hit me up and shoot them an invite to the league, man. We definitely don't want to see any forced wins, no CPU games. You know what I'm saying? So definitely keep an eye out for that. Definitely hit me in the DMs if you know anybody. Other than that, I mean, it's definitely great to be back. It felt like forever since I last done these recaps. People have been dying for them, and I had to, you know what I mean? I supplied demand, you know what I'm saying? I got to dish it out to y'all. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell for the notifications to know that we always live stream, because that's all I do. I live stream. I don't edit this shit. This is pure, raw, uncut, on the go. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoy it, man. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. I really appreciate it. Other than that, it's your boy signing out. The GGL recap, mid-season recap. We about to get back at it. You know what I'm saying? Once again, thank y'all, man. Peace.